We all remember how 4 years ago, approximately, the Toronto Maple Leafs made the biggest splash in free agency for the first time in years. An improving team with a promising young core, they grabbed the biggest fish of the free agency class from that year, signing hometown hero John Tavares to a 7-year contract with an average annual value of $11 million. It was a hefty price to pay for a player who didn't really address an immediate need, considering they already had Austin Matthews as their number one center, but at the same time, it was just as much of a message to the fan base that they were happy with the state of the team and confident enough to spend. Fast forward 4 years later, and things haven't really gone exactly as planned. Not in terms of Tavares' production, but rather the team in general. The Maple Leafs have reached the postseason 4 times since then, and each time they've gone out in the first round, or in the case of 2020, the play-in round. The Oakville native has delivered, producing at nearly a point per game pace in every season since he became a Maple Leaf. His goal scoring rate has taken a dip since the 2018-19 season, but other than that, he's consistently been one of their top producers. With the Maple Leafs headed into yet another season with all eyes on them and the stakes somehow higher than they were the year before, Tavares could be poised to have a big season and perhaps be a little closer to the type of player he was in the first season with the team. Game 1 of the first round series between the Toronto Maple Leafs and the Montreal Canadiens in the 2021 season was a forgettable one for just about everyone involved in the team. That, of course, was the game where Tavares suffered a very scary injury after taking Corey Perry's knee to the head following a hit by Ben Sherratt. The injury happened only 10 minutes into the first period and ultimately removed him for the remainder of the series. Given the way the events transpired, the hit could have been much worse, so the fact that he only walked away with a concussion and a knee injury from the initial hit was a silver lining. But because of that, the offseason that followed was focused around recovery just as much as it was around training for the upcoming season. And given that Tavares still finished the 2021 season with 76 points in 79 games, it's impressive considering the detour his offseason training regime took. But with him fully healthy and having no lingering injuries to deal with over the summer, I would imagine he'll be quicker on his feet out the gate and won't take too much time to find his stride. Obviously, he's far from the first player to have an injury disrupt his training schedule, and that's likely only a small part of why his goal scoring took a dip in last season, though it's a legitimate part of the equation and something that could work to his advantage this season. Heading into the 2022-23 season, it's very safe to say that the first line will likely consist of Austin Matthews, Mitch Marner, and Michael Bunting. It's a combination that helped Matthews hit 60 goals, Marner flirt with 100 points despite missing 10 games, and Bunting notched 63 points in his first full NHL season. So as the old saying goes, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. The second line, on the other hand, saw some inconsistencies throughout the season. While William Nylander and John Tavares have generally been productive together, it hasn't been as consistent as Austin Matthews and Mitch Marner. And while Alex Kerfoot and Ilya Mikheyev at times were fine placeholders in 2021-22, the lack of a more dynamic player may have hurt his production a little bit. As much as I believe it would have been in Maple Leafs' best interest to sign or trade for a top 6 forward this offseason, that does not mean that there aren't internal options outside of Kerfoot that could work. Pierre Engvall has talked about wanting to take his offensive game to another level next season, and Nick Robertson is still waiting for a proper chance after being in the minors. Whether or not these players will have a direct impact on Tavares' production remains to be seen, but a fresh face on that second line could provide a spark that maybe they've been missing over the past 2 seasons. It can feel like Tavares has lost his step from time to time, at least compared to his debut season with the Maple Leafs, but I feel a lot like, for reference, he's carried a goal per game rate of .34 in his past 2 seasons compared to a .57 in 2018-19. On the other hand, he's improved the playmaking side of his game. He tallied 49 assists last season, which was one short of his career high, and at the same time, Nylander found an extra goal-scoring edge to his game with 34 goals in last season, which helped make up for the dip in Tavares. Whether or not you believe his production has been worth the contract he signed today, you can decide for yourself. But for every Connor McDavid and Austin Matthews around that dollar figure, there's an Erik Karlsson or Jonathan Toews making nearly the same amount. While his production certainly could be better, he's been a consistent near PPG player every year since he signed with the Maple Leafs. And even though he's on the wrong side of 30 now, there's nothing that would suggest he's already hit his peak. Steven Stamkos just hit 100 points for the first time in his career at the age of 32, and although he's likely not going to hit 100 again, it's not unreasonable to suggest that Tavares could take a big step forward in 2022-23 at the age of 31. Thank you guys for tuning in, and have a wonderful day.